What's up, co-reporters? Welcome back to my channel. We've got to talk a little bit more about this divorce drama between Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner. It is getting uglier by the hour. So in a video I recently posted, we talked about how Sophie was suing Joe for the quote-unquote return of their children to England. I use quotes for return because those are American children raised in America. So the idea that they've been abducted from England is a bit ridiculous in my opinion. Okay. Don't hate me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You probably feel the same thing. Okay. This doesn't mean I'm pro Joe. It just means I think that what Sophie's claiming is a bit far-fetched. Okay. Now, she also claims that she only found out about the divorce through the press. And now Joe has hired his representative to go to TMZ with an exclusive statement calling Sophie a gosh darn liar. Let's read the statement together, shall we? Brace yourselves. It is quite the doozy. So it starts off by saying attributed to a representative for Joe Jonas. And now here's the actual statement. And I quote, after multiple conversations with Sophie, Joe initiated divorce proceedings in Florida, as Florida is the appropriate jurisdiction for the case. Remember, they had a home in Florida, Miami particularly, that's where they were living. Sophie was aware that Joe was going to file for divorce. So in the second statement, they're already like, this girl knew. She done knew. She's lying to y'all. Then they continue on to say, the Florida court has already entered an order that restricts both parents from relocating the children. This has to do with her wanting the kids to be in England. And it's like, no, these are Florida raised children for now. You can go debate all that stuff, but I'm not abducting them from where they've always resided. And then it says Sophie was served with this order on September 6th, more than 2 weeks ago. So I want to point out the September 6th date, okay? Because they're claiming, oh, she knew and she's lying to the press. She's manipulating you guys about not being aware that Joe was filing for divorce and all the kid stuff. But mind you, Joe filed for divorce on September 5th, which means that she wasn't notified about this until a day later, September 6th. So Sophie is telling the truth when she claims that she only found out about the divorce and all of this custody stuff via the press. You know, his rep kind of shot him in the foot there. If you go on Google, you search Joe Jonas filed for divorce, you'll see the dates that those articles were published, September 5th. I'm looking particularly at the one posted by People magazine. Wow, a paragraph in, and he's calling her a liar. Meanwhile, when he throws out the dates, it's looking like she's telling the truth. Funny. Not funny, haha, but funny, weird. Anyway, let's read along. Joe and Sophie had a cordial meeting this Sunday in New York when Sophie came to New York to be with the kids. They have been with her since that meeting. Joe's impression of the meeting was that they had reached an understanding that they would work together towards an amicable co-parenting setup. Less than 24 hours later, Sophie advised that she wanted to take the children permanently to the UK. Thereafter, she demanded via this filing that Joe hand over the children's passports so that she could take them out of the country immediately. If he complies, Joe will be in violation of the Florida court order. Now, that is a court order that was handed down on September 6th that is mentioned in the first paragraph, okay? The kids are not to be moved from Florida, apparently, as of right now. And so, again, this goes to what I was telling you guys earlier on in this video and also in my other video recapping the way that Sophie is trying to make it look like he ran to England by foot, stole those kids, locked away their passports because these are English roses that need to stay there. They're born and raised there, when that is not the case. Those are American children. They have not been abducted from England. I really do not think she is going to win this case. It comes down to the fact that they've been born and raised in one country and not the other, okay? It's unfortunate for Sophie, of course, as someone who chose to have kids in America with an American while wanting to live in England. Maybe Joe did make her feel like they could eventually live there, but at the end of the day, it's a very big risk to take before you're actually in your home country, right? But let's move along. Joe is seeking shared parenting with the kids so that they are raised by both their mother and father, and is, of course, also okay with the kids being raised in both the US and the UK. The children were born in the US and have spent the vast majority of their lives in the US. They are American citizens. point blank period. Okay. And I think it is lovely that he is he's open to the idea of sharing them between the US and the UK. I will say though, I always feel bad for kids in this situation where they're like kind of raised between countries. Like, travel between the US and UK, it's so far, so long. It's not fun. So I feel bad that like kids are going to have to do this regularly because, of the situation of their parents. But I digress. This is an unfortunate legal disagreement about a marriage that is sadly ending. When language like abduction, quote unquote, is used, it is misleading at best and a serious abuse of the legal system at worst. The children were not abducted. He wants to make that incredibly clear to you guys. Like, it seems like he's really pissed that she put that out there. After being in Joe's care for the past 3 months at the agreement of both parties, the children are currently with their mother. Sophie is making this claim only to move the divorce proceedings to the UK and to remove the children from the US permanently. Joe has already disavowed any and all statements purportedly made on his behalf that were disparaging of Sophie. Oh, please, Joe, not purportedly, definitely made on your behalf. Who else would have benefited from those initial statements about her being some sort of a party animal, deadbeat, They were made without his approval, okay, Joseph, and are not consistent with his views. All right, Jojo. His wish is that Sophie reconsiders her harsh legal position. Wow, he is groveling legal position and move forward in a more constructive, and private manner. He wants her to be more private. Meanwhile, he had his people, or perhaps himself, go to TMZ, release a bunch of statements about her before filing for divorce. Now he's got another representative releasing the statement to TMZ, right, on his behalf, as it says at the top of it, attributed to a representative for Joe Jonas. And he has the gall, the audacity, the chutzpah to say that Sophie needs to be more constructive and private about the situation. Wild. I have not heard Sophie like release an official statement. I know that the legal documents were leaked, but that was not an official statement or anything like that. Anyway, he's claiming that his only concern is the well-being of his children. Listen, you're concerned about the well-being of your children and making Sophie look like a deadbeat. I don't know if she is or isn't one, but that seems to be your concern. So now the idea that you, after being a chatty patty to TMZ all this time, are now turning around and acting like Sophie needs to be quiet is wild. Wow. He's triggered, extremely triggered by what it is that Sophie is saying about these children being abducted. That set him off. And honestly, if you thought he was bad before, if you thought he was trying to tarnish her image and everything before, just you wait. I think that this is an indication that the gloves are officially off. I do believe we're going to see more sources step forward with negative stories about Sophie now that Joe is like pissed that he has been called some sort of a child abductor. Mind you, there is no part in the statement where he talks about why he took the children's passports. I think I support the decision, to be honest with you. And I said this in my initial video. If one of these, and I think you guys would do the same thing. If you were with someone from a different country and they wanted to move the kids to a different country, you didn't want to do that, and the kids are born and raised in your country, you would hide those damn passports as well, But I do think it would have behooved him to address that in the statement as well, perhaps to shed a little bit more light on why it is that he's doing that. Because they're already saying that she all of a sudden, without any conversation, wanted to move to the UK, so why not just say that, oh, and because of this dramatic thing that was not agreed upon, Joe is currently holding on to their passports for safety, the safety of the kids. Do not be abducted by Sophie from the country in which they are born and raised. He would have this would have been the perfect opportunity for him to bring it up. So I am quite surprised that he has not really put that out there in the statement. But listen, he's already said a lot. And like I said, this is just the beginning. Wait and see. There's going to be a lot more mess coming from Joseph Jonas very soon, now that he's incredibly pissed at Sophie for what it is that she's had to say about him, quote unquote, abducting their children. Guys, what a wild ride. What do you think about this? I can't even ask you whose side you're on, because it's not about whose side. It's about what is the right decision here. Are these kids better off staying in America or the UK? Have they been abducted from the UK? we'll find out all of this stuff. And like I said in my previous video, I am going to be having a lawyer friend come on the channel to help us break down this legal matter, the lawsuit that Sophie has filed against Joe and everything. Okay. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and stay tuned for that video. It's coming next week. Bye. Have a good day.